With all the talk about President Biden's age, is there any doubt that whoever the GOP candidate is, particularly if it's Donald Trump, that person will try to make the 2024 election about Vice President Kamala Harris? But Democrats don't want to think about it. I mean, I've been skewered on both my Sirius XM radio show, on social media, even accused by some of being racist, for just asking why they aren't thinking about it more. But no matter how much some Democrats might want the problem of Kamala Harris's deep unpopularity to go away, it isn't. Yes, typically a vice president wouldn't be a make-or-break issue for a sitting president, unless people are really concerned that the president very well may not be able to finish out his term, which is exactly the case here. And as the vice president's poll numbers remain at startlingly low levels, she continues to gift-wrap word salad sound bites tailor-made for Fox News. In just the past few weeks, the vice president has said had some trouble with some basic questions like this one, in which she tried to define the word culture.
Culture is, it is a reflection of our moment and our time, right? And present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because, you know, it comes in the morning.
Or how about this comment during a press conference about infrastructure?
Together, we are expanding access to transportation. Seems like maybe it's a small issue, it's a big issue. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
And last week, this remark about artificial intelligence certainly could have been topped by ChatGPT.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
But look, Donald Trump said a lot of crazy stuff, and some of it didn't make any sense. But more importantly, just look at some of the recent poll numbers, which have to catch the attention of even the most optimistic Democrats. An NBC News poll at the end of June found just 32% of voters approve of Kamala Harris's job performance, compared to 49% who disapprove. It's a -17 spread, lowest ever for a VP. And that disapproval number, not an outlier, as other recent polls have had similar findings. Look, the reluctance on the part of Democrats to have this conversation likely has to do with optics. They don't like the idea of questioning the country's first minority woman, even though they could have picked another, like, say, Florida Senate candidate Val Demings. But this very issue previously came up with Vice President Dan Quayle, President George H.W. Bush. He stuck with Quayle, and he lost. Who knows if it was cause and effect? But with 80-something President Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, the name on the bottom of the ticket will draw far more scrutiny than it normally might. And they can keep pretending it won't be a big deal, or they can try to deal with that reality. Joining us now is Kristal Knight, Democratic strategist who's worked on the presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, currently the host of the Kristal Knight Show for Newsweek. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. What am I getting wrong here?
Well, I think what you're getting wrong is that you're focused on the wrong thing. You know, what we've discussed before is that Joe Biden is running, and voters will be looking at his record. They will be looking at what he's done to uplift this country and how he intends to take this country into the future during his 2024 election cycle. We already know that, you know, the vice presidential person on a ticket has less weight than the actual president. And I know that you're concerned about the president's age or the fact that he is still aging, but ultimately voters are still behind Joe Biden, and because Joe Biden is still confident in the candidacy of his vice president and Kamala Harris, there's no other conversation to have around who his vice president will be.
So thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.